The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. Reading of the Journal.
In Senate, Sunday, March 3rd, 2024, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Saturday, March 2nd, 2024 was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the Journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions, messages from the Assembly, messages from the Governor, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, communications and report from state officers, motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Amendments are offered to the following third reading calendar bills by Senator Prasad, Calendar 213, by Senator Brooke, Calendar 377.
The amendments are received, and these bills will retain their place on the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Can we now take up previously adopted resolution 1865 by Senator Weber, read that resolution's title, and recognize Senator Weber.
Secretary will read.
Resolution 1865 by Senator Weber, commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Lafayette Theater of Suffern, New York.
Senator Weber on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Lafayette Theater in Rockland County celebrated its 100th anniversary yesterday. Anyone who's been to downtown Suffern, my hometown, is welcomed by this beautiful theater as they enter. Nowadays, when a theater is built, it's just seats and screens. Modern theaters lack the beauty and personality of classic theaters. How often do you see a balcony in any new theaters? What about a fully sized, fully functional pipe organ? This single-screen theater holds 942 people. It's truly a look back to a different time. And the Lafayette Theater is much more to the community than just a place to see a movie. They hold live shows and events there as well. Yesterday, on its 100th anniversary, I was happy to attend an event hosted by the Rockland County Disability Advisory Council, showcasing a documentary and live show highlighting the Music for Life Creative Arts Therapy Program. I've also attended many events there to stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine and many other worthwhile causes. This theater is part of our community and Rockland's history. I'd like to acknowledge the efforts of a few people who have contributed to this milestone. Thank you to the Good Samaritan Hospital for the renovations in the 1980s. Thank you to a group of local Suffern residents who formed the Lafayette Association to Save the Theater, or LAST, who successfully fought to prevent this Lafayette from being carved into a 7-screen multiplex. Above all, I'd like to acknowledge the Ben Moshe family. Ari Ben Moshe is here today. In 2002, the late Robert Ben Moshe, Ari's father, a Suffern resident, saw the potential of the theater and its importance to downtown Suffern. He began a massive undertaking of interior and exterior repairs, as well as upgrades to the projection and sound systems. Robert's son, Ari Ben Moshe, purchased the Lafayette Theater in 2013 and continues his father's legacy. It is my honor to acknowledge Ari Ben Moshe, who joins us here in the Senate gallery today, and thank him for his and his family's tireless efforts for preserving this gem in Rockland County. I know, Ari, your father passed away in 2015. I know he'd be proud to see this being acknowledged today, and I know he'd be proud of the continued work and legacy that he's built with the Lafayette Theater. So, Mr. President, please welcome Ari Ben Moshe to this chamber and extend him all the courtesies of this House. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Weber. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The resolution was previously adopted on February 27th. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, I know Senator Weber would like to open that resolution for co-sponsorship.
The resolution is open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor of the resolution, please notify the desk. Senator Gianaris.
Can you now please recognize Senator Fernandez for a special introduction?
Senator Fernandez, for the purposes of a very special introduction.
Yes, thank you so much, Senator Gianaris. Thank you to the floor for allowing me to give this amazing introduction. For those that don't know, today is Bring Your Parent to Work Day. I hope you all got the memo, because I certainly did. And I brought my beautiful, darling mother, Sonia Fernandez, here to see what we do. I know all of us make our parents proud because we are doing amazing work here in the legislature for our families, for our constituents, for our neighbors. So it was a treat for our parents to see the work in action and the action that happens here in Albany. But for our parents, our grandparents, our guardians, any father, mother figure that you have had in your life, today is a day for them, to recognize them, because it is their love and hard work that encouraged us and motivated us to get to this very chamber right now. So I want to give a special shout-out introduction to my mother, Sonia Fernandez, a daughter of Colombia, mother of 6 children, Wilfredo, Gonzalo, Raquel, Natalia, Amanda, Alejandro, grandmother, Nana, of 7 grandchildren, Jared, Shayna, Suncita, Sloan, and baby Benicio. And, oh my God, I forgot 2, Naya and Evan. Don't tell them that I messed them up. But token to my excitement to bring my mother to this floor, these are the halls of Albany, the rooms where amazing things happen, and I know she is just as amazed to see us here and her daughter on the Senate floor. So thank you, Senator Gineris, for this moment. Please welcome my mother, give her the applause that she deserves, and happy Parents' Day to all.
To Ms. Fernandez, affectionately known as Doña Sonia, please rise and be recognized. It's going to be kind of hard to beat, Senator Gineris. Senator Gineris.
Let's just take up the calendar.
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 137, Senate Print 2271 by Senator Liu, enactment of the real property law and the civil practice law and rules.
Read the last section.
Section 6, this action take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 137, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Canzone Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Martins, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Rollis, and Steck, Tedesco, Weber, and White. Ayes 39, nays 19.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 152, Senate Print 4435 by Senator Fernandez, enactment to amend the insurance law and the public health law.
Read the last section.
Section 7, this action will take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 60.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 156, Senate Print 1182 by Senator Harkam, enact to amend the criminal procedure law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 60.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 160, Senate Print 134 by Senator Kruger, enact to amend the public health law and the civil rights law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 60.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 227, Senate Print 4540 by Senator Ramos, enact to amend the labor law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 60.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 238, Senate Print 2691 by Senator Breslin, enact to amend the General Municipal Law.
Read the last section.
Section 6, this act shall take effect on the 90th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 60.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 318, Senate Print 2426 by Senator Prasad, enact to amend the Vehicle and Traffic Law.
Read the last section.
Section 6, this act shall take effect 1 year, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 60.
The bills passed.
Calendar number 356, Senate Print 1448B by Senator Sanders, enact to amend the Education Law.
Lay it aside.
Calendar number 371, Senate Print 1804 by Senator Addabbo, enactment of the Public Service Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 60.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 390, Senate Print 805 by Senator Serrano, enactment of the Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Law.
Lay it aside. Senator Janaris, that completes the reading of the calendar.
Can we now move to the controversial calendar, please?
Secretary will ring the bell. Secretary will read.
Calendar number 356, Senate Print 1448B by Senator Sanders, enactment of the Education Law.
Senator Lanza, why do you rise?
Mr. President, I believe there's an amendment at the desk. I waive the reading of that amendment and ask that you recognize Senator Borrello.
Thank you, Senator Lanza. Upon review of the amendment in accordance with Rule 6, Section 4B, and a rule of non-germane out of order at this time.
Accordingly, Mr. President, I appeal the ruling of the chair and ask that Senator Borrello be heard on the appeal.
The appeal has been made and recognized, and Senator Borrello may be heard. Senator Borrello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to appeal your ruling with what could possibly be the most germane amendment we've ever offered on this floor, because this bill, the bill in chief, which I am fully supportive of, actually implements a study on school transportation. And it actually includes not just buses and other vehicles, but pedestrians, which I think is very important, because if we do this new electric school bus mandate, more kids are going to be walking to school because the buses aren't going to work. That's what this amendment deals with. It actually deals with eliminating the mandatory enactment of buying electric school buses for all of our school districts and replacing instead with a pilot study that will show us what will happen if we have electric school buses in rural areas, urban areas, and suburban areas. Incredibly important, incredibly germane to this particular bill. Mr. President, there was recently an article in the Times-Union that talked about the Bethlehem School District, which purchased 7 electric school buses 3 years ago. Currently, 5 of those 7 are not working. We have another story about a electric school bus that in February suddenly came to a stop, lost its actual ability to steer, and the driver actually had to drive the school bus into a snowbank in order to stop it. We cannot have our children be the guinea pigs for this electric school bus mandate. We need to show, I think, some leadership here in this chamber by replacing that mandate put forth by our governor with a reasonable ask, which is to study it, make it a complement to the current bill that Senator Sanders has offered, so we can see what will happen. I am sure all of you, or at least most of you, have heard from your school superintendents, from school board members, from concerned parents about this electric school bus mandate that will start in 2027. No more traditionally powered school buses, and instead all electric. It's been very concerning. The cost is estimated to be over $20 billion with a B to just replace those school buses one for one. If that doesn't include the extra school buses you're going to need for the ones that aren't working. Also, on a beautiful 70-degree day, you've got about 100 miles of range for an electric school bus. That number can plummet in cold temperatures, like when our kids go to school, particularly in our rural areas. And yet we're going to force our school districts to buy these school buses. In addition to that $20 billion to buy those buses, that doesn't include the multiple millions of dollars that are going to be required to upgrade the electrical infrastructure, nor does it include people to actually work on these school buses. As we heard from bus mechanics, particularly here in the capital region, who talked about the fact that there is no ability for them to do anything to repair these school buses and get them back into service. This is an incredibly germane amendment that complements the bill in chief. I would ask, Mr. President, very respectfully, that you reconsider your decision so that the rest of the body can debate this amendment and hopefully add it as a complement to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Borrello. I want to remind the House that this vote is on the procedures of the House and the ruling of the chair. Those in favor of overruling the chair, please signify by saying aye.
Show of hands.
Show of hands has been requested and so ordered. Announce the results.
Ayes 20.
The ruling of the chair stands and the bill in chief is before the House. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Senator Harkam to explain his vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First, I want to thank Senator Sanders for this excellent bill. I just want to reply to a few of the comments that were made a few moments ago. What's in it for rural, suburban, and school districts? What's in it for those districts is cleaner air for the students. Students on conventional diesel-powered buses are exposed to 19 times more pollutants than people off of those buses. Will provide cleaner air to our urban areas, and will provide school buses ultimately lower energy bills. Electric transportation is much more cost-effective in the long run than combustion-based transportation, as the longitudinal cost studies show. The other thing we hear about parents and school districts. We hear from a lot of parents, I hear from a lot of parents who are worried about the air their kids are breathing on the buses, which is an important reason why we do this. I share with Senator Barillo the comments from school districts. I have gotten them too, and it is really beholden upon NYSERDA to do a better job of communicating what money is available. I've met with President Harris. She's acknowledged that, and we can play a part in that too. I'm going to be hosting a webinar for my school districts along with NYSERDA to let them know what money is out there, both state money and federal money. There's a lot of money to get us started down this road, but the state has not done a good job. NYSERDA just rolled out a new RFP to help with the infrastructure, the connecting to the grid. That's an expensive piece, and I thank you for pointing that out. So electric school buses are safer, they're better for our health, they're more cost effective, but I agree with my colleague, we do need to do a better job of selling our local districts on what resources are available. I vote aye. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Harkin to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Rhodes to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. The problem is the tech doesn't work. There's questions with regard to its safety, and you're talking about an expense of $20 billion when what's being offered by the governor is $500 million, $500 million in money from the Environmental Bond Act. This is an expense that's going to bankrupt school districts at a time when you're already talking about changing the formula for foundation aid, and school districts are already facing cuts. This isn't a time for NYSERDA to study how they're going to pay for infrastructure, because this goes into effect July 1st of 2027. The infrastructure has to be built now. They don't have time to wait for NYSERDA to figure this out, which is why the amendment was germane. I support the original bill, and I know the issue has been decided, but studying this issue, studying the issue of electric school buses should have been included as part of this, and I hope that, that at some point in time, the sponsor will reconsider and expand the mission of this commission. Thank you, Mr. President. I vote in the affirmative.
Senator Rhodes to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Aye, 61.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 390, Senate Print 805 by Senator Serrano, an act to amend the Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Law.
Senator Murray.
Sponsor yield for a few questions?
Will the sponsor yield?
Sure.
The sponsor yields.
Thank you. Senator, just some clarification, really. I've spent the afternoon on the phone with some of our local officials, county, town, village officials, just curious about responsibility, things of this nature. So if I give you a scenario, maybe you can help clarify. So Suffolk County does mosquito spraying throughout the county. They'll usually send out notice 24 hours in advance, whether it's a reverse 911 or text or phone calls, to let people know. But if they do the spraying and they do it in the village of Patchogue or in the town of Brookhaven, who is then responsible for cleaning any playground that was affected by that spraying? Would it be the village? Would it be the town? Would it be the county? Who's responsible for that?
Through you, thank you very much. Through you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator, for that question. This bill, if put forth, would give DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, and the Department of Health the discretion in setting those guidelines for the distance of amount of overspray and the methods of cleanup. As far as who would be involved in that cleanup, it would be the municipality in which the playground resides, or if it's a state park, it would be the Office of Parks.
Thank you. Would the sponsor continue to yield?
Will the sponsor yield?
Sure.
The sponsor yields.
So in that condition, how would the notifications be made? Because I've talked to some of the village officials, and they said half the time we don't even know the spraying's happening till we get phone calls from people in the area where the spraying is taking place. Would there be a requirement, and how much advance notice would they have to have?
Through you, Mr. President, I think that's part of why this bill is so important. I think as a state, as a society, we should be thinking more and more about the use of pesticides, especially around young children. The EPA has made it very clear that long-term, low-level exposure of pesticides to children in particular can have a detrimental effect on their long-term health. A bill like this would help to create the processes that would be needed in order to, as you mentioned, to have notification. I know in the city of New York, we are given ample notification before any aerial spraying does happen. I'm not sure about other municipalities throughout the state if they have requirements by law in which to provide notification. That could be something we could look at a different time. But as far as I'm concerned and as far as this bill is concerned, this would ensure that municipalities, in accordance with the regulations put forth by the Department of Environmental Conservation, would ensure timely cleaning of these facilities when and if there is overspray or drift of spray. So, this bill, I think, will help tighten up the process of ensuring that municipalities know when spraying is happening.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the sponsor continue to yield?
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
Sponsor yields.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President, how would this be enforced? Who would be in charge of the enforcement of this to make sure that the cleanup is done in the timely fashion?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. As I mentioned, the Department of Environmental Conservation as well as the Department of Health would be in charge of ensuring that this program moves forward. So they would be the ones, as far as enforcing the cleaning, my understanding is that it would be the municipality that would be in charge of the cleaning or the Department of Parks.
Mr. President, would the sponsor continue to yield?
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
The sponsor yields.
Thanks. And would there be a penalty? Say they did not clean up in the appropriate time, DEC comes and sees that it wasn't done. Would there be a penalty, or what ramifications would there be for not complying?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. I'm sorry, I believe your question was regarding potential penalties.
Right.
So my understanding is that as this program is put forth, so this bill would authorize the development of this program. And then the rules within it would be put forth from the Department of Environmental Conservation or the Department of Health, that being the distance of a spraying application to a playground, and enforcement mechanisms would all be part of that sort of overall package.
President, would the sponsor continue to yield?
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
The sponsor yields.
Thank you. You mentioned safety and the concern for the kids. Of course, that's paramount. But so when the spraying is taking place, who will be responsible? For example, there is a 24-hour period. Who's responsible for making sure that playground's shut down? Will it be roped off, shut down, taped off, whatever, to keep the kids off until the cleaning is done? If that's not done, who is responsible for that?
Again, I refer back, I'm sorry, through you, Mr. President, I refer back to my previous statement that through the development of this, so this bill, just to take half a step back, this bill will ensure that, okay, so it is already against the law to spray in a playground. That is very clear. But this would be an extra layer of caution if spraying is done near and close to the playground and any potential drift of that spray to get onto that area. The Department of Environmental Conservation and the Department of Health would then be in charge of developing sort of the plan for enforcement, for ensuring that there's proper notification, for ensuring that the cleanup actually happens within that 24-hour period. So again, I do understand your point of view, Senator, ensuring that this is something that can be enforceable, that it's something that can be of benefit. And those are all very good questions. And I think as we move forward, hopefully, with this legislation and with working with the state agencies, we can ensure that all of those processes are in place.
Senator, Mr. President, on the bill.
Senator Murray on the bill.
Thank you. And thank you, Senator Serrano. Listen, I think the intention of this bill is very good. You mentioned overspraying. Listen, on Long Island, there's constant wind, constant blowing. I understand that completely. The concern I have is, I think we're putting the cart before the horse here in that I'd like to vote on a bill where we have these answers of responsibility. What kind of penalties, what kind of concerns will there be if it's not carried out in a timely fashion? Is there going to be any kind of liability issues for the village, for the town, for anyone if it's not done? So until more of these answers, and we have more of these answers, and this is put together completely, I'm going to have to vote no on this. Thank you.
Senator Krueger. On the bill?
Thank you. On the bill.
Senator Krueger on the bill.
So I was listening to the debate, and I was doing a little research. I love these smartphones and Google. Well, maybe I shouldn't say on the floor of the Senate I love Google, not always, but I love smartphones and the ability to do research. And I learned that one of the biggest risks of pesticide exposure for children is through yards and schools and playgrounds. And even relatively small exposure to pesticides can cause neurodevelopmental damage in children that will affect them the rest of their lives. So I personally think we all have to figure out how we're going to get it done correctly, but it's not about finding people or not finding people. It's about making sure the kids aren't getting exposed to these pesticides as they're outside playing, because everybody wants to take their kids to outside playgrounds, right? And the schools want the kids in the playgrounds. We all want them in the playgrounds, but we certainly don't want them developing neurodevelopmental diseases for the rest of their lives because they enjoyed the swings. So I want to thank you for the bill, Senator. I vote yes.
Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've agreed to restore this bill to the non-controversial calendar.
Upon consent, this bill will be restored to the non-controversial calendar. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Krueger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 390, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Murray and Ort, ayes 59, nays 2.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the desk.
In that case, I move to adjourn until tomorrow, Tuesday, March 5th at 3 p.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, March 5th at 3 p.m. Happy birthday, Dad.